Hello, it's Debbie Gilbert from the Business Awards Show, and I'm also the founder of the Best Businesswomen Awards and the Best SME Awards. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Charlotte, the founder of Elysian, an organisation dedicated to supporting children, young people, and families with complex needs in a truly innovative and compassionate ways. Charlotte brings a wealth of experience from across the social care sector, having worked in a wide range of settings supporting individuals of all ages. Over the years, she has led multidisciplinary teams, managed services, and played a key role in shaping projects and strategies that genuinely improve lives. What really stands out is Charlotte's unwavering commitment to children's rights and ensuring that young people's voices are heard and valued in the decisions that affect them. With over a decade of experience in participation and advocacy, she has consistently championed a more inclusive, person-centered approach. She also brings something quite unique to her work, a deep belief in the transformative power of animals, integrating animal-assisted interventions into therapeutic and educational settings to support emotional well-being in a truly holistic way. With an impressive academic background, including a PhD in management, alongside extensive practical experience, Charlotte combines insight, empathy, and innovation in everything she does. Last year, she was recognised at the Best Businesswomen Awards with a coveted Special Recognition Award in recognition of all of the work that she has done over many, many years. So we're going to be talking about that work today and finding out more about the work that Charlotte does and the impact that that makes. So welcome, Charlotte. It's great to see you again.
Thank you, Debbie. Very happy to be here. And that's a wonderful introduction. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
you're very welcome. Well, let's start at the beginning then. So, what inspired you to found Elysian? And tell us more about, the gaps that were in the system that you felt needed to be plugged.
Yeah, uh, I could probably talk about it all day and write a book about it. But I started myself in as a child in the 80s, living really rural, and sort of experienced an environment where children, young people needed a louder voice, particularly when needs or trauma, and I grew up wanting to do something about that. So I grew up wanting to work in social care, in mental health, and to help others, and that's how I ended up working in children's homes. So as I was working in children's homes, what I saw more and more is, first of all, I really enjoyed it, but what I saw more and more was there was more needed in the system. We needed more creativity. We needed to hear voices better, and that kind of led me into children's rights. On my journey, as I was working in children's rights, I became a parent myself, and one of my children really, really struggled socially, and I was, I guess, absolutely overwhelmed with the magic that animals had when they were in the room or when they were just with my children. Generally, we went from being very, very anxious and not being able to name feelings to actually articulating exactly how we felt, and I was really curious about it, really like the difference that animal could make. So I brought it into my professional environment. So I was working with children, young people, and I brought animals into my environment with children, young people with mental health and children, people who were experiencing trauma in different ways. And I saw it professionally and personally. I saw the difference that animals can make in it's not just for children and people, it's for anyone, of course,
Mm.
but it was just quite distinct. It wasn't just, oh yeah, I'll feel a little bit better. So I went away and did some training on initially it was actually equine assisted psychotherapy.
Mm.
And even doing the course myself, I was a skeptic. I was like, yeah, is it really that, is it really that significant? Is it really going to change lives? Come on. And I was lucky to go on a course that was quite experiential. So you were put in groups with complete strangers and had to do all these exercises. Some of them were more individual exercises, and some of them were group exercises. And they were literally like, that side of the arena is the past. This obstacle here is the present, and that side of the arena is the future. And choose your horse and walk them through. And as we went through this sort of metaphoric journey, if you like, I personally really felt the power that animals can have in that sort of therapeutic progress and processing of anything from trauma to decision making to general self-esteem building. And I decided to pursue it, really. So I was working in the local authority, and I found, well, my husband and I found this derelict farm, and we thought it would make a perfect therapy farm. And we asked a slightly dodgy mortgage broker if they could find us a loan, because we didn't have a lot of money, and we bought a derelict farm. And with the farm, we started a kind of a livery service for horses, because we needed to pay the mortgage, of course. And then we gradually started this therapeutic provision. And we saw it like almost from day one, the difference it made. We had children and people who were going to school, but they were really, really struggling at school. So they might go to school for the morning and they come to us in the afternoon. And because they came to us in the afternoon, and the schools would report, because they came to us in the afternoon and spent time, therapeutic time with animals, they were able to sustain their school placements. So immediately, like literally from day one, we saw these outcomes, and they were just, it was just such an overwhelming, fantastic experience to be part of, really, to see the difference it made in people's lives. So and then it kind of grew from there.
So where is your farm based?
So our original farm is based just outside Guildford in Surrey.
Mm.
And then we now have two more, one in West Horsley, also in Surrey, and then one in Hampshire near Liss. And the farms have evolved to become education provisions. So what happened over the years was children and young people would come to us who had not been to school for years due to school phobia, various mental health needs, or just generally really traumatic experiences in your mainstream or special education needs schools. So what we did is we kind of created a pathway where children and young people will be able to come here maybe for an hour, maybe with a parent initially, and then gradually increase attendance. And when it comes to education, there's no middle ground. If you want to provide education, you have to become properly registered with the Department of Education, in my view. But of course, you can have a therapeutic pathway before you become enrolled into the education. So we have opportunities for children and people to come on to different programs, and where there is a education, quite often young people come to us where there is no education placement. So they are then referred on to our education program, and that's full time. It's 5 days a week, and of course not everybody comes to us being able to do 5 days a week, but that's what we work towards, that they follow a full curricular program, and everything that they do involves learning with animals. Of course, the older they get or the longer they are with us, we increase the resilience in the ability to study more academically, in terms of being able to, for instance, sustain being in a classroom, being able to do an exam, being able to walk into college, and because it's all about preparing for life and work at the end of the day. If we were just wandering around a farm patting animals all day, we're not preparing them for life and work. So we work towards it, but the animals help us do that, and they do that really, really well, and it works really well. It's just a kind of, I guess it started with an idea of supporting a bit of emotional well-being, and then it's actually, it's almost like saving lives in a way, because it's giving young people opportunities that where their parents felt that there is nowhere else for them to go. So yeah.
Is there anyone else doing what you're doing anywhere else in the UK?
Not when we started, because we bought the farm 10 years ago. We asked Ofsted, and they didn't know of anyone else at the time. Now, the last few years, there seem to be some popping up. There's quite a few therapy farms around now.
Mm,
I haven't yet met anyone who's exactly like us, but I have seen in the last few years, even like the last 2, 3 years, there are some yards that are now registering as schools and doing fairly similar to us. But I feel that we are quite original in what we've
mm.
done, because a lot of schools will have farms, but not a lot of farms will become a secondary school. And we are literally a farm. We don't ever say that we are a school, apart from when we're talking to certain professionals where that language needs to be used. Like, for instance, Department for Education, you have to use the word school or education provision. But we absolutely, first of all, identify with being a farm, because that supports children and young people with school phobia. We don't
Mm.
talk about it's a school. It's a farm. You're here to grow. You're here to progress, and it's all about kind of whatever their profile is when they arrive with us. That's what we work with, and we try and get them to where they want to be.
So is it a working farm, Charlotte?
It was once upon a time, but no, not so much anymore. It's So each of the farms are slightly different, but the original one is 100 acre. Used to be a cattle farm, but it's now I mean, we do have a whole range of animals. We have like goats, donkeys, horses. We have a reptile room full of all sorts of reptiles and creepy crawlies, and like we have snakes, bearded dragons. We have like hedgehogs and tenorix and yeah, all sorts of animals really, all fluffies, chickens, rabbits, guinea pigs, chickens. And chickens are extremely popular. And I never knew chickens could be as therapeutic as what I've seen, even just recently. I've seen young people really having conversations with chickens, young people who don't really talk very much to adults. And I've seen chickens being used. We don't like to use the word use animals, we talk about utilization more than anything. But chicken being in an environment where you've had quite an escalated young person, and just because the chicken is there, it's just the whole atmosphere changes,
Mm.
and the whole situation calms right down. And it is amazing to see.
And where do your animals come from? I mean, are they rescue animals themselves, or do you have to buy them, or?
Well, that was a huge learning for us, actually. It's a really interesting question, because I think that's where we went a bit wrong and had to learn. And lots of people as well, when they come to us for consultation and they're sort of starting to wanting to do it, where that's one of the things we share, in terms of our learning, is we used to believe that if we have rescue animals, then we're kind of that would really fit with our values and our purpose and everything. But actually, in retrospect, it doesn't, because ultimately we are dealing with very traumatized children and young people. And if you matched quite traumatized and unwell animals with traumatized young people, I mean, I know it sounds common sense now that that's not a good idea, but we
Mm,
we felt that actually that whole aspect of
mm,
caring for and looking after and relating to trauma, we thought that there was something really valuable in that. And I'm sure there is quite often, but young people who are really anxious, they want to connect with animals.
mm,
And young animals who are themselves traumatized or have been neglected or are unwell, they're not necessarily in that space to connect with
no,
people. And they're not necessarily given their consent to do so either, because a
no.
lot of them will have will themselves be in a state of trauma where they're being handled without consent by people, because they're having to treat them medically. They're
Mm,
having to pin the llama down to treat its leg, even though it's very, very scared of people, but you have to for physical reasons. That sort of thing we've obviously gone through the years, and our learning is no, get babies, get
mm,
babies who then have the opportunity to really connect and love connection with people,
mm.
and they are the best therapy animals.
Yeah, so I'm presuming now the programs have been going quite some time. You're able to breed yourself
Yeah,
within your farms. So describe
absolutely.
a typical day for me. So
Yeah.
someone comes along. How does this all work? I'm really intrigued.
Yeah, so I'll do a typical day for a young person who's coming in
Hmm.
on an education provision, for instance. So we as staff or our teams, they have meetings from 9 to 9:30, which is just like a planning thing because
Hmm.
everything is so bespoke. So
Mm.
everything has to be planned. Everything's planned well in advance, but the intricacies of everything is kind of
Mm.
planned until the last minute because there's so many last minute changes. So at 9:30, young people arrive, and timetable's different for every young person. So it just doesn't apply to everybody, but they tend to have a check-in period. And like with any provision, they give in their phones, they put their bags away and all that kind of stuff. But then they go and see an animal or they go and sit with the rabbit and that kind of thing, which is all about grounding and getting
Mm.
ready for the day. Young people have been with us for a while, they might do that in a group. Young people who are quite new to us, they might just do that on a one-to-one. And then they have sessions or lessons, and it could be anything from when they initially do the feed, they have to do the measurements and they have to do the weights and they have to do all the different calculations for different things, which all counts towards particular learning outcomes in maths. So all our staff, they will have behind the scenes, they have certain learning outcomes that all the children have to
Mm.
meet, and they have some ideas of the sort of activities they're going to do. So they basically have on their work phone, essentially, they have all these like learning outcomes and where they're at, and so behind the scenes, they kind of have a plan.
Mm.
But what it might look like to a young person is they're just feeding animals
Mm.
and they are, doing different interactions. It's like there could be a particular animal that's struggling with something or has some kind of health need, or a new baby or whatever it might be that you have to do particular tasks with. And our staff will use like the opportunity to work towards some of the learning outcomes doing that. And then we have some structured lessons and sessions depending on ages and how they've been, but they look like very similar to what you'd see at school, apart from the fact that they are with animals. You might be doing different kind of poetry elements about donkeys, but you might be sitting with the donkeys whilst you're doing it. And we use all our woodlands and we use all our outside areas to do the different kind of lessons and sessions, that depending on what the young people are working towards. We also do quite a lot of things where young people do like work experience outside, or they do trips and that sort of thing, like you would expect, I guess, any education provision to have.
Amazing. And how many children are you working with at any one time then?
Yeah, so we have places for 145 young people across the three sites, and they tend to work in groups. Well, like I said, when young people first come, they're often on a one-to-one until they kind of settle in. But ideally, we want young people to be working in a group of six because that prepares them better for the outer world, at least by the time they leave. So it changes as they kind of settle into the provision. But yeah, I'd say on average, about the groups are about 4 to 6 that they work in.
And what age group are you dealing with?
Secondary,
Hmm.
but we do have an extra year at the end, so we're 11 to 17. But we do have therapy groups and different kind of home ed groups for younger. But our education provision is 11 to 17. And the 17 is because quite often where you have children and people with quite complex needs, and say they come to us at age 15, we
Mm.
need that extra year to support our young people to go into a college placement or an apprenticeship or whatever it is that they want to do.
And they come via referrals from the local authority?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And have you found that any of these children over the years have actually gone on to work in animal care as a job?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So part of the independent schools regulations is that you have to really track your leavers. So you have to know what your leavers are doing even a year later, and you have to report on that. And because of that, I hear about them, and obviously we keep in contact with all of them as well. So yeah, we've had lots of leavers who've gone on to do apprenticeships, jobs, grooms, that kind of thing. Yeah, different college courses.
Do you come under the Ofsted regulations as well
Yeah.
then?
No, the independent schools regulations.
Yes,
Yeah.
slightly different.
Mm.
Wow. I mean, it's incredible what you've built. I think it's just, yeah, so unique, so
Yeah.
different. Not heard of it at all before you appeared on my radar with the Best Business Women Awards. Um,
No.
And I was absolutely overawed by what you'd done and how you'd built this provision. It should be in every single town, shouldn't it? It
It
should be there
should.
for
It
everybody.
definitely should. Yeah. Mm.
So talk me through awards because, the judges felt strongly that you should be recognised last year, which is why you won a special recognition award. And those are given to only a small number of people. I think it was
Yeah.
five that we gave out last year. And they're to people that are doing something exceptional. So it's nice
Yeah.
to be recognised in that way. But you have done other awards as well, haven't you? So talk me through your thought processes around awards.
Yeah, so basically we wanted to start a slightly different so we came across this issue really that which you've sort of referred to a little bit about the fact that we are quite unique, and
Mm,
that is there is no training specifically for what we do. You
no.
know, there is no training where you have to learn about and everything around safeguarding children and young people, everything around managing mental health and behavior, and also education and also animal assisted intervention. So this is really multifaceted training that we need to run for our staff, which is why we have so many training days. But that evolved a little bit because we really wanted all of our staff to have animal assisted intervention training, and it
Mm.
didn't exist. So we decided to create it. And as part of creating it, we then decided, okay, well, this is slightly different because the customer base, if we want to create it and offer it to all our staff, as well as make sure it's a bit of an external thing as well, is that this actually involves kind of running a business that's not this very, very niche in terms of with our other stuff, our only customer, if you like, as local authorities. This involves building a whole new branch of training and development within animal assisted intervention. And for our staff to really benefit from it, we also want to build it. And to be able to build it, you need to generate some revenue. So you have to make it its own business. So as part of that, we did some like social media courses and things like that. And they said, build your profile, go out there, get awards, get nominated, and that's how we ended up. And this sort of we had this sort of 18 months of getting quite a few awards, and it was amazing, like you were just saying, getting the special awards. And having then done about 6 or 7 of these awards, I have to say, Debbie, yours is the best one we ever went to. It was really, really well
Yeah.
done, and so much so that we're inspired, and we are now doing our own awards specifically for people who work in education, mental
Brilliant.
health, and in animal assisted intervention, and we call it Elysian Awards. And whenever we do these awards meeting, I'll always go, well, actually, this is the way Debbie did it. I really prefer that, and I really like that. When you're talking about whether you're going to read out the thing or have it on the screen or whatever. And I really remember your awards, and I thought, no, so much better when it was on. Yeah, so I have to say, anyway, so you actually asked me about the awards. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we did like the women's the National Business Award, and we got a gold for that. We did the She Inspires, and I got a gold for that one, winner for that one, which was lovely. We did the Children and Young People Now Awards, and we were finalists for that one. They do like this thing where there's only
Mm.
like 5 or 6 finalists thing, which was lovely. And yeah, a couple of others. But we were yeah, really impressed. Oh, that was it. She Inspires one. The one in what was the other one? Anyway, but I can't remember now. My memory's a sieve. This is a whole year ago now. So much has happened since, but yeah, of course. So these awards inspired us to do our own awards because it is quite a niche thing, this animal assisted intervention, and what we're wanting to do and wanting to be part of is to build a whole new wave of it, really,
Mm.
where we build an exclusive network for people who are interested in animal assisted intervention, how to build it into your practice. So we are doing, it's called Elysian Exclusive Community. We do anyone who's in the exclusive community, which is completely free, they can then get access to webinars and that sort of thing. And then we do like a Barn Plus, which is, I think it's something like £5 a month, and you have access to our training. You have more kind of exclusive things, as you can imagine. Usually, you see with these exclusive networks, is you pay a little bit, and then you have have a lot more access to things. Then we do different courses. So we now have a level 3 and a level 5 in animal assisted intervention. So the level 3 is for people who might not already have qualifications within education, mental health,
Mm.
social care, and you want to become an accredited practitioner in animal assisted intervention. And then you've got level 5, which is essentially same level as year 2 at university. And that is for people who might already be working as a teacher. You might already be a professional of some kind, you know, or a therapist, or a social worker, for instance, and you want to integrate animal assisted intervention into your practice. And that's it's a 12 months course. So yeah, so there's different courses for different professionals who are interested in animal assisted intervention. So that was it all. That's all kind of wrapped into one, really. The exclusive network, doing the awards, raising profile, and all the courses.
Wow. So what is your vision over the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you want to see your business developing, but also the whole blanket of animal assisted therapies? What's the bigger vision, the long-term vision?
If I had a magic wand for animal assisted intervention, I would like it to be recognized for for the value that it
Mm.
has. But as something gets recognized, it also needs to be professionalized, because at the moment there is room for people who are themselves perhaps not that qualified or are themselves quite traumatized to, rent a yard and call themselves an equine assisted therapist and deal with very vulnerable young people.
Mhm.
And that happens. It happens in England all the time. So I'd like to see it be these kind of people being more supported and have the opportunity to become more professional and have the right safeguarding training and have some level of regulation, meaning,
Mm.
if they wear a credit, like what I'd like, this fits in with our plan as well, because what I'd like to us to develop into is where we have done some of it, but I'd like us to do much more of it, where we develop into the service where if you are that person who's wanting to do that and you need something bigger behind you to support you, to make
Mm.
sure that your practices are safe, to make sure that you have all the right training, to make sure you have all the right licensing, to make sure that when you have an incident that is dealt with in a safe and contained and all that kind of stuff, and least of all, not least of all, making sure that you do right by the animals. That's my vision for Elysian, is that we support that process. So we become an organization that supports budding animal assisted
Mm.
intervention practitioners out there. And that's what we're working towards, this exclusive network and accredited courses, and people then becoming members of us, and then we support them.
Is it an unregulated industry at the moment then?
Yes and no. So it depends on what you're doing. So if you are an OT, for instance, and
Mm.
you're wanting to do equine assisted within your work, then it's not an unregulated, because you as a professional, you are working in you are a
Mm.
regulated professional. And if you are doing it in a limited company, then also you have to have a licensing.
Mm.
But there's loads of gaps, because there is nothing stopping you advertising yourself as a therapist. The
No.
word therapist, that's not a regulated profession,
Mm.
or a title, or like social worker, that's an exclusive regulated title. So I guess, like therapy, it's not regulated. Anyone can call themselves a therapist, anyone can call themselves an animal therapist. Yeah.
Didn't realize that. That's really
Mm.
interesting, isn't it? But if
Yeah.
people are listening to this podcast and interested in what you're doing and interested in offering this as a service, then they can contact you and you
Yeah,
have courses that they can purchase and you can get
exactly.
involved.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
are you offering also support for people who want to set it up as a business?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So that what we advise anyone who would like to do that is they join our exclusive community, and then we have webinars, we have sort of coaching, have a coffee with one of the managers where you can come with any questions and worries you have, any like specific. So quite often people will say things like, "I don't understand if I need a license or not, because this is what I'm wanting to do," or I don't feel like I've got enough therapy. How do I know what's enough training, or how do I know that I'm competent enough? And those kind of questions. Well, in fact, any questions, of course, they can bring to the table, but they are the ones we see quite a lot. So yeah, join the exclusive network for free, and then get to know us, or ask the questions on our platform, and join the training, and yeah, so there.
So you're not just a businesswoman, you're a mum as well, and you've got a lot going on. How on earth do you juggle everything? What's your secrets?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I look back now and I think, because I feel like I've slowed down the last few years, which is probably a good thing. But all my life, I've just been really driven, and I think it's just from having a background. Yeah, I think I was a fourth child, right? And we all know, with like the later borns in any sibling group, they just have that little bit more of an entrepreneurial kind of resilience, because they have to find their niche, and they have to find their way through life in a different way. I think that's contributed. I also, I started working early, and I had roles that were kind of beyond my years, and I had to really fight for my voice, and to sort of prove that my worth, and that's really helped me. I had a dad who's an entrepreneur who kind of inspired me, and I think generally I have been quite lucky. I've got a husband who's been extremely supportive. I will take risks and he will go with it. And he's my business partner, and sometimes I'm sure he's shook his head a million times and gone, oh no, but he's gone with it. And when you take risks, sometimes it comes good, and sometimes it doesn't. Um, and I'd love to support others to do the same. And yeah, I guess it's just passion, isn't it? And taking risks, daring to take
Resilience, I
risks.
think. That's what comes
Yeah.
across to me from you.
Yeah.
You are incredibly resilient. Are you planning to open more farms yourself or support others to do it?
Both potentially. At the moment, we're focusing on the training and development, and
Mm.
that sort of side of things. Um, but I think maybe next year we turn our sights a little bit more coaching and supporting others, and also the challenge of finding a new site, because that's usually the challenge, is the actual finding an appropriate kind of farm site, because of the fact that we don't operate as a money making machine. Like there's very little cash at the end of the month. It's driven on passion. um and because of that, it's quite hard to be able to find a new site, because we don't have lots of money to buy one or anything. So yeah, so if anyone's reading this and thinking, well, I've got a spare farm, I'm happy to lease it to you, then yeah, contact us. But yeah, so that's what we tend to look for. We tend to look for a yard or a farm that somebody's happy to lease us on a long term, and then that's how we grow, really.
Yeah, because this is not classroom based. These children are not sitting in a classroom, are they? They're
No,
very much out and about with the animals,
absolutely.
learning along the way. I
Yeah,
love it. I think my son, who's 32 now, but he
yeah,
loved that kind of environment. I mean, he really struggled with a classroom environment, as do many
yeah.
children. And I think it's a fantastic way. I went to a free expression school as a child in the 1970s, which doesn't exist now, but it was a Montessori style teaching,
Oh, okay.
and we had animals. And I remember my mum always recounting a story about, when your parents pick you up from school, you say, "What did you do today?" And I said to my mum, "I walked the rabbit round the field." And she
Yeah.
always reiterated that story to me, because in those days, it wasn't a choice for her to send me to that school. It was, we came under that catchment. I had to go to that school. I didn't wear uniform. I called teachers by their first names. We had pond, we had pottery, we had a swimming pool, we had loads of things and lots of
Wow.
animals. And I
Yeah.
do look back on that and think, actually, although academically maybe I had a lot of catching up to do when I went to secondary school, because it wasn't as regulated as it is now. I look back on that and think what an amazing experience I had. So
Yeah.
I do think there's so much merit in what you're doing. It
Mm.
should be a choice, really, that a parent could
Yeah.
send their child to you rather
Yeah.
than that it's reached the point where they can't cope in a mainstream
Mm.
school.
Yeah,
And maybe that's what we need to look at is how we are building these horrendous secondary schools that look almost like a prison and
yeah,
putting
yeah,
1,500 kids in it and hoping it's all going to work out. And of course, it's
yeah,
not,
yeah,
is it, for a
exactly.
lot of children?
No, no.
I love
And
it.
it is that old saying, isn't it? If you ask a fish to climb a tree, and our school system is a little bit like that. It's just not for everybody. There's lots of positives for lots of people within our school system, but then it's just not for everybody.
No.
Um, no,
No, I love it. And I love what you're doing. I think it's amazing. And, just talking to you today, you've really actually explained a lot of the nuances that I didn't know about. So I feel like I know a lot more about what you're doing. So if anyone's listening to this and is interested in animal assisted therapies, get in contact with you. Like you said, if anyone's got a farm that they would like to change into this kind of concept of school, it's just amazing. Get in touch. And anyone who's interested in your courses, we'll make sure we put some links into the show notes. So thank you for
brilliant.
coming today and talking to me. I know you're an incredibly busy woman. And yeah, I wish you every success with this. I think
Thank you very
it's
much.
going to
Yeah.
get bigger and bigger. So well done.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Debbie. Take care.
Thank you.